Fundamentalist evangelical in Texas, Christian rock. The wider world is interested in that kind of stuff, like at a zoo, who are these weird freaks?
This is Rock That Doesn't Roll, the story of Christian music. I'm Andrew Gill, a music journalist who grew up listening to Christian rock.
And I'm Leah Payne, author of God Gave Rock and Roll to You, a history of contemporary Christian music.
And today on the show, we're going to take a slight left turn away from music, but still fully in the Christian entertainment industry.
That's true. And you can never really get away from the music when you're in the Christian entertainment industry. So don't worry about it. Music will come up.
There's a lot of music. Yes. Our guest today is Jeremy Alder, who is a bona fide rising comedian. And he does a lot of content about his past, growing up homeschooled in the heart of Texas. He had fundamentalist missionary parents with a penchant for conspiracy theories, he says in his own bio.
Yes. I mean, right away, you know that this is our kind of person. We want to talk to this person. We were surprised, shocked, and delighted to find out that he is a Rock That Doesn't Roll listener. So already
Incredible.
Rock That Doesn't Roll listeners. There's a lot of affinity there. He's our kind of people, our kind of person.
Yeah, he's self-selected, we're finding each other. It's like the little magnets that slowly creep across.
It's beautiful. It's a beautiful thing. And one of the fun things that we discovered along the way talking with him is, of course, the role that Christian music played in his upbringing, and also that it still plays in his life. In fact, the reason why I learned about him was because you sent me a viral clip from him, Andrew, where he's talking about fronting a failed Christian rock band.
Yes.
And it's just as excellent as you would hope it would be. How did you find out about
Jeremy? I think he was just sent to me by multiple people. I don't know. But, once you dig into, like, Jeremy has had a few little waves of virality online. He never really intended to be a comedian. I'm not sure if it's his full-time work yet, but there was something early in the pandemic where he was getting press because he was online. He had already been doing comedy, and this was before we really knew if anybody was going to help people survive. And he was just going online and offering people that needed help with their rent his own money out of his own savings. So wild. Yeah,
I love that.
Super
I love
generous.
that. Yes, and you may have already seen him or heard of his work because of his Dry Bar comedy special, which we talked to him a little bit about. But I feel that listeners to this show will be delighted to know that the special is called Purity Pants. So right away, you know that this guy is an informed listener to the world when it comes to the world of evangelical media. So this is a really fun conversation. I'm so glad we had it.
Yeah, let's get right to it. Just a quick note, though. If you are a Patreon supporter of us, you may have gotten this episode about a week early. So please consider that when you are, making your monthly budget. And if you think about, all right, do I have $5 that I could give to Rock That Doesn't Roll? You could get the episodes a full week early. So, yeah.
Do yourself a favor.
That's a benefit.
Love it. I love it. Enjoy.
Rock That Doesn't Roll.
Every idea starts with a problem. Warby Parker's was simple. Glasses are too expensive. So they set out to change that. By designing glasses in-house and selling directly to customers, they're able to offer prescription eyewear that's expertly crafted and unexpectedly affordable. Warby Parker glasses are made from premium materials like impact-resistant polycarbonate and custom acetate. And they start at just $95, including prescription lenses. Get glasses made from the good stuff. Stop by a Warby Parker store near you.
I don't know if you have this feeling, but I constantly find myself daydreaming about finding an expert who can solve a very specific problem in my life. And one specific problem that comes up every year is filing taxes. But luckily, finding someone who can solve that problem is easy with TurboTax. They have dedicated tax experts who are there to help you every step of the way. With TurboTax Expert Full Service, you can match with an expert who will handle your taxes from start to finish, no matter how complex. You can even hand off all your tax stuff within the TurboTax app. And then you can see updates on your expert's progress while you go about your day. You can check exactly where your tax return stands right there on your phone. And then if someone ever says to you, man, I wish there were an expert who could do my taxes for me, you can say, oh, I know someone. Visit TurboTax.com to match with your expert today. It's only available with TurboTax Full Service Experts. The real-time updates are only in the iOS mobile app.
This show is supported by Blue Land. Living a cleaner and more sustainable lifestyle by reducing single-use plastics is a small action that makes a big difference. And Blue Land is on a mission to make it easy for everyone to make those sustainable choices. They believe that hardworking, clean products can be the norm, not the exception, so that you can do better for your family and the planet at the same time. From cleaning sprays and toilet bowl cleaner to dishwasher and laundry detergent tablets, Blue Land's 100% microplastic-free, EPA Safer Choice certified formulas are safe to use around people, pets, and plants. You'll love not having to choose between the safe option and what actually gets your house clean. Blue Land products are independently tested to perform alongside major brands, and the formulas are free from dyes, parabens, and harsh chemicals. Plus, Blue Land is a certified B Corp and certified cruelty-free by Leaping Bunny. Their formulas are EPA Safer Choice certified, and many have received the Gold Material Health Certificate from Cradle to Cradle. And right now, Blue Land has a special offer for listeners. Get 15% off your first order by going to blueland.com/PRX. You won't want to miss this. blueland.com/PRX for 15% off. That's blueland.com/PRX to get 15% off.
You know, wherever there's a music industry, there's often a comedy industry, right? Musicians often wish they were comedians, and sometimes comedians wish they were musicians. Sometimes you get a bridge between the two, and I think that might be what we have in our guest today, Jeremy Alder. Welcome to the show, Jeremy.
Guys, thanks for having me. Longtime listener, first time caller. Glad
Amazing.
to be here.
We're used to people having no idea what our show is when we've invited them on. So this is great that you've actually listened to the show before.
Oh, yeah. I mean, y'all are right in my wheelhouse.
Awesome. Yeah.
For sure.
So,
I am stunned and very, very flattered.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for listening.
yeah, you know, so here's how I decided to invite you on the podcast. I had so many people send me a clip of your stand-up on Instagram, like there's people I know IRL and stuff. And it's the bit you have about Christian rock. And I was like, this is hilarious. I enjoy this comedy a lot. I've seen it 3 or 4 times now. I should just see, you know, like follow this guy on Instagram and maybe send him a message. And I went and you were already following me. And so I was like, oh, perfect. He probably heard the podcast. And so I just invited you. You said yes. And here we are. So this is awesome. Yeah.
Well, thank you. It's an honor. I love what y'all are doing. Really, I really do. I mean it. I've been listening for, at least a year. A buddy of mine turned me on to you guys and he was like, you've got to listen to this. We're always talking about Christian rock, early 90s, and they're in it. They're exploring the whole history and everything. So
let's give our listeners what they want. They want content about Christian rock. So let's do that up top. You have an amazing bit that has gone viral on Instagram a few times over.
Me and my friends, we started a Christian rock band when we were 16. I don't know if you're familiar with Christian rock. It's just like regular rock, but usually not as good. Which is why it really hurts when your Christian rock band doesn't make it. Because you're like, man, we didn't even have to be that talented. And that's when you got to call the band together for a meeting and be like, well, Malachi, Zechariah, Jeff from public school. Guess it just wasn't God's will, huh? And that's when God's like, hold on a second, that wasn't anybody's will, okay? Don't blame that on me. I like regular rock.
You were talking about starting a band when you were 16. And so let's hear about what is the band. You don't tell a lot of details in a bit. So let's, what was the name? What?
Yeah. This is a safe space too, so come clean. Yeah, brave space.
The important part of that bit is that my Christian rock band didn't make it, which is why you've never heard of us. So that's an important component of that. I was actually in a few different bands. The first one we started was called Nineveh.
Nineveh.
Nice. Yes.
That's a great name.
I love that.
This probably would have been 96, around 96.
Inspired by flood in any kind of way, or?
Oh, yeah. Jars of Clay era.
That would have been right around that era, right?
Right around.
Yeah, it might have been. We were searching for cool names, and I was advocating for, I thought we should spell it the number 9, VEH.
Oh, yeah.
I thought that makes such a cool, like sticker or whatever. I got vetoed, but I was very into, I liked,
like Delirious with the 5, Yeah.
Yes, or I was even thinking like Goaty Hook.
Yes,
right?
Goaty Hook.
Which is actually Fish Hook, right? I was like, oh, that's so clever. That's so interesting and cool, right? So Nineveh for a little bit. Then that was more like kind of alternative rock, grunge, kind of Plank Eye inspired.
Yes, Plank Eye.
Yeah, we were big into Plank Eye. And then we kind of moved on to, this was the rap rock and ska era. And so we started a different band called Big Community.
Big Community, nice.
And we were kind of going for kind of like a Sublime kind of vibe,
Nice.
And that was the one that we kind of poured the most effort into. And, we played, our first show was at a Christian bookstore.
Nice.
Oh,
I still have the flyer for that
sweet.
somewhere. It
An
was
independent one or a part of the chain?
This was before, I feel like, the rise of the big chains.
The
like
big
just
ones.
before.
Family Christian.
Yeah. And so we did that. But then we kind of moved on to playing local bars and rock clubs. And in San Antonio, there's it's where I grew up. There was an underground Christian club called the Catacombs that started.
Oh, I get it. I love it. Yes.
I feel like I saw that name on tour schedules sometime. I would
You
scour
probably
the tour
did. A lot of the like tooth and nail bands and stuff that came through the area would play Catacombs.
Mm-hmm.
And we got to play Catacombs a couple of times, which was really huge for us.
Yeah.
But that's about, as far as we went. We traveled. One year we went to Cornerstone Music Fest, not to play.
Yeah.
We didn't get invited, but just to like
Did you set up a generator
pass out
stage?
demos. No, we saw some people
Wait.
doing that. We thought, that's what we should have done, right?
Yeah.
Who played? Do you remember that year? Were you there to see anybody in particular?
Oh, yeah. What year was it? Do you remember?
Yeah, so that would have been probably 90. It would have been 96, 97, or 98.
Wow.
MC Hammer played the big stage.
Oh, yes.
Oh,
Right.
wow.
Yeah.
What a moment.
And
You got to see it?
Got to see MC Hammer. They were like an hour late. And the bus pulls up and like Hammer jumps off the bus, followed by like 20 dancers, all in like the same like matching white outfits, and killed it, of course.
Yeah.
I mean, it was unbelievable.
MC Hammer was amazing.
It was amazing.
That's awesome.
It was such a production. So
I think I heard that his bus got stuck when they were trying to leave or something. Like that when the bus was
like in the mud
on
or
that
something?
Cornerstone farm, it was
Yes.
just muddy and they just
because they brought like a real tour
like a
bus.
full size tour bus, right? Yeah.
Yeah. It was a mess.
Everybody else is like in vans.
15 passenger vans.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah. That's so fun.
But man, there were so many good bands. We saw POD kind of before they broke into the mainstream, but they were getting pretty big. Mm-hmm. And they threw a great show. And I think the lead singer from Project 86 joined them for some of their set. And the rapper Dirt.
Oh, okay.
Who has sung on some of their tracks from like the Brown album. He was there. And man, there were so many. Like once I start down that train of like I'm like it's just like it's amazing.
One of the things that I've mentioned before is that Christian music is this weird sort of it just puts it puts a lot of people in a different headspace, different point in time in their lives, and they could be having these totally normal mainstream lives, and then all of a sudden you start to talk to them about whatever artist, and then they're back at age 16 or something. In a way, I mean, music does that for a lot of folks, but it seems like contemporary Christian music or Christian rock does it in a really specific way. And I wonder, what is an artist that if you were to just hear a couple bars or even think about it, you would be that version of yourself?
Oh, wow.
What's the time machine? What's the
what's the time machine
or what's
thing?
The Manchurian Candidate? The Winter Soldier cue.
Oh my gosh, that's so wow. That's really bleak, Andrew. I like it.
Oh man, I mean, for me, anything from the POD Brown album, or I was also a big fan of Stavesacre, and I remember I got to meet Mark Solomon he was at the merch table at Cornerstone that year.
Whoa.
And that was a big deal for me. But
because that guy had been in The Crucified, which was like one of the first Christian punk bands. And
right.
He goes all the way back. Yeah.
He had also been a rapper.
Oh, wow.
Not a lot of people know this.
Yeah, I don't think I knew that part.
Yep. He had been a rapper.
I'll set the scene, I'll set the crimes. I'll be the voice of the innocent doing time. One referred to as the devil's child, the plight of the white boy, and to a genocide. I see the trap, I'll trip the snare. I'll be the first to chance, the worst I'll take the dare. Couldn't tell you what I got to lose if I end up in the shoe singing the blues.
State of the Union, 1992, same as it ever was.
Feel the tension built up in the youth.
Is it ever gonna change?
And I don't think he wants a lot of people to know that.
Well, speaking of that, I mean, a lot of people who go on to have normal mainstream lives don't want people knowing about their Christian rock band days. Mm-hmm. But you have made that a part of your public life. And I would like to know about how you made that decision. As an artist yourself, how did you decide this is going to be a part of what I do?
I don't think it was a conscious decision about whether or not to include it. Just when I started writing comedy, I just started writing about my life and stuff that I thought was funny and that people thought was interesting. Because if you come from kind of this subculture that I came from, being like homeschooled my whole life, so I had that subculture, fundamentalist evangelical in Texas, Christian rock. The wider world is interested in that kind of stuff. Just kind of from a watch it like at a zoo, like who are these weird freaks? They want to hear about some of that stuff. And it also I knew would connect with, there's a lot of people that, were influenced by Christian rock, whether they grew up the way I did or not. And so it's just one of those subjects that hits a nice intersection of my personal history and interest to other people. I didn't expect that joke to be as popular as it turned out to be. I was just kind of telling what I thought was a funny kind of story about my life. And yeah, it really connected with a lot of people for whatever reason, which is great. I mean, that's what you want, in comedy. So, but it never occurred to me to hide that part of my life.
Rock that doesn't roll.
When we first started this project, we weren't sure if anyone would think to support us through listening, but certainly not through funding. And I'm really grateful that a number of people who care about the kind of history that we're doing are funding our work exploring the world of Christian rock. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah. Patreon.com/RTDR. We do have a decent amount of people supporting us. We are still not at living wage standards yet. But
no.
But it is a lovely community of people, and we would invite you to join them. We are always making this show for everyone to consume, but if you are able to support us, just the cost of a cup of coffee or a pint of beer once a month, that's all we're asking. So if it's valuable to you and you can spare it, join us over at patreon.com/RTDR to keep the show going.
Yes, we really appreciate your support.
This show is supported by Odoo. When you buy business software from lots of vendors, the costs add up and it gets complicated and confusing. Odoo solves this. It's a single company that sells a suite of enterprise apps that handles everything from accounting to inventory to sales. Odoo is all connected on a single platform in a simple and affordable way. You can save money without missing out on the features you need. Check out Odoo at odoo.com. That's odoo.com.
I know you started at open mics, and you've said you didn't really know much about how the comedy industry, you just kind of go and
not at all.
You had written a few jokes and you just tried them out. And I've listened to enough WTF to understand that comedians will try stuff out and they are constantly tweaking based on audience reaction. And, were there areas that you were trying initially that just fell flat, that you're like, all right, don't talk about that quite as much. Let's turn more towards this other stuff,
Yeah, I think so. I think when I started comedy, I was going through a pretty dark time in my life. I was going through a divorce and learning how to be a single dad of 4 kids. And I had I had stopped, I'd been a preacher. I'd gone to seminary. I was rethinking everything about God and church and life. And so a lot of my jokes at the time were me kind of working out this pain publicly, and it was pretty dark, and it did not go over well. And as it shouldn't have, because it wasn't very good. And to do dark material, it takes a lot of skill to make it connect,
But yeah, at least you said those things out loud, I guess. It's a form of therapy, but
I
maybe
guess
not good comedy.
It's bad it's bad comedy and probably worse therapy.
And worse therapy. Okay.
Yeah. Comedy is not therapy. Anybody that tells you that needs to go get real therapy. So I would, I learned to kind of lighten up, because that is the real me. The real me is a lighter, more fun-loving person. And so that's the real me coming through, and that's what connects with people. And so, when a kind of fresh-faced, youth pastor-looking guy gets up and starts telling dark jokes, it's like, what is this? It doesn't people don't buy it, was part of the issue. So,
right.
So there's still a little bit of that in my comedy, but that's not, nearly as much as there used to be.
Since this is audio primarily, I will say I saw a comment on one of your posts on Instagram that said, "This guy stole Tig Notaro's whole deal."
I do. I get that a lot. I've gotten Tig Notaro, Walmart, Chris Pratt.
I think they were saying the way you look too. I think.
Yeah.
Which Tig Notaro is attractive, so it's significant.
I mean, that's a compliment.
I'm flattered at every level. I love it. Yeah, big fan.
That is so, man, people are so mean.
You have no idea.
Yeah. Well, I have
I'm sure you do,
so
actually.
well, I'm a professor, and every semester my students give anonymous feedback because everyone thinks that's going to be helpful. It's actually not helpful at all. And one of my friends and I have done like a mean tweets thing where we just read teaching evals, and it's mean. Man, they're so mean because they actually know you. They're so mean. But I will say, I don't have to, like, we're in this tiny little world. You have a vast audience that you've exposed yourself to. And there's some smart, mean people out there. Ouch. I don't know. How do you even manage that?
They say don't read the comments, but you kind of have to at some level, and some of them are genuinely funny. Like even the ones like I appreciate, some of the zingers that people, send my way in the comments. And I'll interact with some of them just because it's hilarious to me. But, it's easier to take these comments online than it is, to be bombing in real life. So it's pretty mild. It's, Yeah.
Have you, I'm thinking of like other comedy podcasts I listen to, I've heard, like Mike Birbiglia, when, Pete Holmes comes on, they roast each other mercilessly, right? And Colbert and Seth Meyers. When Colbert went on Seth Meyers, I was like, Seth is being so mean to him. He seems nice usually, but are you part of like any sort of comedy community, or like do you have other comedians that you roast each other? Like, and also like, why do comedians like to do that? Why do they like to be mean the more they know each other?
Oh, that's a good question. I mean, I definitely have a community. I was lucky to start in a place in Raleigh, North Carolina, that has a very strong kind of local scene that's very supportive. And so part of what I think drew me into stand-up and kept me there was the community, and just meeting other kind of misfits who were, trying to figure out how to do this very, very niche and difficult thing that is stand-up comedy. And I had no idea that there was this whole kind of subculture of amateur stand-up comedy. Just like there is, in music, people have their favorite local bands that play at the local bars and rock clubs. It's the same with comedy, and so I've made, when I started, I guess it's been like 10 or 11 years ago, a lot of the friends that I started going to open mics with, I'm still friends with. A lot of them have moved on to, other places, New York, Chicago, LA, and all of that. But we're still close, and it's great. Like that's a real, very valuable part of this whole thing for me, is the community part.
Yeah. I've been thinking about like smaller towns and cities in the US, and like there's got to be like, there's culture and life in those places, like I think if you listen to the narrative of the, a mainstream narrative is that you have to move to New York, LA, Chicago, Portland, or I don't know, like there's maybe 10 cities that you can actually have a fulfilling creative life, but like there's people doing stuff everywhere. I feel like
It's so true. Yeah. It's so true. I mean, I've done comedy in 100 small towns in North Carolina and Virginia and all up and down the Southeast. And yeah, man, there's creative people everywhere. Creative, interesting people that are making cool stuff and will come to your show and, hang out. Like it's definitely happening everywhere. And obviously with the internet, it's just not the requirement that it used to be to move to one of those creative hubs. You can just kind of get your stuff straight to the people online, I mean, that's what makes it possible for me to grow a fan base I live in a small town of 10,000 people in North Carolina. And, that works. As long as I can get online, get to an airport, and I have access to open mics locally to work stuff out. I mean, I think it still helps. It's not the same. It still helps to be face to face with people who make decisions in any industry. It's like if I were doing, Christian music, I would move to Nashville. because I don't think you can, it's not the same, but it is. There are opportunities now that weren't there, 20 years ago, certainly.
Yeah.
It's interesting. I was reflecting when you were talking about the smaller town or smaller city, I guess a regional approach to music or comedy rather than the kind of homogenized form. I was thinking about how when you had your Nineveh. I like Nineveh.
Yeah.
It's like the Oneaters.
By the way, like you could have played with Crucifixtorious, the greatest.
Don't be Crucifixtorious is the best
band
thing
from Friday Night Lights.
Wow, yes.
That was how you knew that show. They knew what they were doing.
About.
When I saw Crucifixtorious, I was like, oh, it's perfection. But anyway, but I was thinking about one of the things that really killed the traditional, like the old model of CCM or Christian rock that you were aspiring to back in the day, was the death of mid-sized churches. So it used to be that you'd start in these like little coffee shops, and then you'd go and small churches, and medium-sized churches, and then you get to big-sized churches. Well, medium-sized churches almost don't exist anymore. More and more people are going fewer and fewer times to larger and larger churches. And I was just thinking about that as you were talking about comedy, and like a lot of different forms of local regional art have had to at least readjust. Like, I don't want to say that they're just languishing, but it's interesting that you went from one business that's kind of like that to another one that's kind of like that. Well, wait a minute. Then you were a pastor for a while. So you were actually in all of those industries at one point in time.
I mean, I will clarify. I was never a pastor. I was a preacher. So I was never on.
Oh, preacher.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
I get it.
But I would preach at the churches that I was a part of, but I was never on staff. But I do know that world very well. And that's a great, you're absolutely right.
So you said you were raised fundy in San Antonio, but what specific version? There's very few churches that say we're a fundamentalist.
Because like let's also I've heard that you said your parents converted when you were 5, and you at that point had already become a fan of Michael Jackson.
Oh yeah.
So let's get the specifics that Leo was asking for, and then let's hear about how they reintroduced music to your life after the change.
Yeah. So before my parents got born again, I don't remember there being any restrictions at all on like what I could watch or listen to. And I, even when I was very little, I was a fan of Michael Jackson. I had like I had the tiny record player with little singles, and I had a glove, and I don't know, I was just enamored. And one of the last memories I have of watching television before my parents got rid of it when they got born again was watching the Thriller video.
Oh, wow.
From underneath our dining room or our living room coffee table, because I was scared of it, but I was like enthralled by it. So I was watching it while I was hiding. And that's one of my last memories of television as a little kid, because shortly after that, they got born again, and the TV immediately went away. My Michael Jackson records went away. My glove went away, as far as I know.
Even the glove?
Oh man, this is so interesting.
Yeah,
it's so interesting. Well, I was just thinking that for a lot of people who grew up in around your age range, Carmen was their first Michael Jackson, introduced that kind of like Thriller aesthetic and everything. Yeah. But you had Michael Jackson first, and then we're given this whole other diet.
Right.
So the music that you talked about being, falling in love with was mostly music that protected evangelical kids picked out for themselves. But usually like the first round was music that their parents picked out for them. Was that the case for you? Did they pick anything out for you? What was
Absolutely. It? Well, Carmen was huge.
Perfect.
She
Carmen predicted it.
I mean, probably.
I'm a sucker for Carmen.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Salty the Salter. Salty, the singing songbook, came to my church, and so I got to see Salty. But
in flesh.
person, in
oh
costume,
my God! Wow,
whatever.
I feel like that would ruin it. I feel like I was able to love Salty because it was just sound, but seeing the full size adult in the book suit
I don't know. It's like meeting Barney the dinosaur.
Okay, but so you loved it. You were.
Yeah, I was
I did.
in
I
a
loved it.
production.
Oh, you
of
were?
it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I love it.
I mean, not like the big
Not
one,
the
like the
actual-
small
Sure, okay.
town
Yeah.
version. It was
Yeah.
very
Wow.
exciting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So salty. And then Carmen was introduced at some point, and I mean, The Champion just blew my mind. I listened to
yeah.
that on repeat. We did go see Carmen in concert at some point in San Antonio.
Did you pitch in for the love offering?
I don't. Did he used to take a love offering?
Yeah, it was free. The
Oh
show
yeah,
was free.
that's yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
I don't remember that part.
It
I was
was-
pretty young, but I remember being like blown away.
Yeah, yeah.
You know,
I'm pretty sure that my family stiffed the love offering. We didn't put it.
Did they? Well, it's okay, Andrew, because my dad was a part of like a ministry team that helped collect the offering.
Oh, wow.
So my
Okay.
family
Yeah.
made up for it. Yeah, it was like a huge thrill as a kid.
some of the other ones I remember are let's see, DeGarmo and Key
Oh yeah.
Nice.
and Russ Taff.
Yes.
My parents
Oh,
listened to a lot of
the
Russ
best.
Taff.
Roll.
I know. I
Yes.
listened to it. Wonderful interview.
Oh gosh, I just died.
Yeah.
That was so
Yeah.
incredible.
And then my brother got I have an older brother who was into Striper
Oh yes.
and Petra.
Nice.
And I remember he had the Striper poster from, I think the album was called like To Hell with the Devil, maybe,
Oh,
or
yeah.
something like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it had like,
Uh-huh.
it was like a black like van. It looked like the A-Team van.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
Yellow
And then-
Black Attack. Yes.
Black, maybe that was Yellow and Black Attack.
Yes,
And then they were on
yes.
top of it, and they were like holding their guitars like they were machine guns,
Yes.
and they were wearing spandex, and they had the long hair
Yeah.
and like
yeah.
Makeup.
makeup.
Love
Yeah,
it.
yeah, the whole
Such a
thing.
vivid memory for me. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, so your parents let you listen to that,
Yes.
though.
Yep.
Okay.
They were
Okay.
okay with anything like Christian media that you could buy at the Christian bookstore. We never had a problem with, and like they were very much like, if you guys want to grow your hair long, get your ears pierced. I think I had an earring when I was like 9.
Oh wow.
Whoa, that's so edgy.
Yeah,
That's an
but
edgy
they were like,
9-year-old
we don't
right
care how
there.
you look on the outside, as long as you are like, respectful and holy on the inside, basically.
And
Yeah.
what was did you say what denomination or church it was? that
So,
you-
non-denominational storefront charismatic is how I would
I knew
describe
it. I knew.
Yeah.
You don't come with Carmen Striper
And a 9-year-old with an
Russ
earring?
Taff. Yeah.
Oh, so what?
I could have clocked you so far away. That is hilarious. Edgy homeschool
Yeah.
kid. That's Pentecostals make
Yes.
that. Yeah, that's so funny.
Yes.
Okay.
Another band that just occurred to me that came to our church was One Bad Pig,
Oh wow! Yes.
which I think they might be from Texas, maybe
Oh,
from the
that might
Austin
be.
area. But
Okay.
yeah, I remember they came through, played when my brother was in the youth group at our church.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Have you ever heard their cover of Man in Black with Johnny Cash?
No.
Johnny Cash actually sang on the One Bad Pig version of Man in Black. Like it's
no
not
way.
it's not just like sampling. This was before Rick Rubin got to him. He was
Wow.
kind of in a lull, in like kind of a low point in his career. His labels he was kind of between labels, and like a guy asked a guy and he was like, yeah, these guys are Christian. I'm Christian. Let's do it. It was like,
Wow. Wow.
This
I knew
kinda
Johnny
reminds
Cash had
me
some
of-
low points in his life, but I didn't realize it had gotten that bad. That's rough.
Well, I wear the black for those who never read or listened to the words that Jesus said about the road to happiness through love and charity. Well, you'd think he's talking straight to you and me.
But we're doing mighty fine, I do suppose. And a streak of lightning, cars and fancy clothes. But just so we're reminded of the ones who are held back. Up front, there ought to be a man in black.
Do you remember that one time when LL Cool J did a song with Brad Paisley?
No.
I feel
oh,
like
yes, I do.
oh, the accidental racist.
Oh
You
my
know, that was there was a whole bit on SNL about how that happened. Anyway, but all of a sudden that was the first thing I thought of. I was like, I wonder if eventually Johnny Cash was like, wait a
Well,
minute. But
No, I actually went through a whole like on background search to figure this out through some people I've met through the podcast. So I've like actually corresponded with the guy who made it happen. So
incredible.
he
Incredible.
doesn't want to come on
okay.
the podcast though for some reason.
I've got a question here, which is, so I think for kids who grew up in charismatic and Pentecostal communities, it's a confusing thing to be so cut off from the outside world, but also be a part of a community that creates so much pop culture. So like, Justin Bieber, his mom was at the Toronto Blessing in Canada. Like he's from a very charismatic
I don't think I knew that.
background.
Huh.
Pretty much anybody, not anybody, but a higher percentage than average come from these types of communities. So, and they also a lot of times end up in entertainment, which here you are, sir. So I wonder, like, what was the experience where you realized that you were sort of like in a different world? Like your parents were letting you pretty permissive compared to some of the people who we've had on the podcast come from conservative backgrounds, and they're not able to listen. They're like from the Goddard school where you can't listen to anything with certain rock beats or whatever. But it's a kind of weird situation being in like a 9-year-old with an earring. When did you realize, like, wait a minute, all these things aren't adding up in the mainstream kind of way?
Yeah. Well, I was being homeschooled in a time when homeschooling was not popular. And before kind of the rise of like the homeschool co-ops and stuff. And so when we first started, I didn't know any other homeschoolers. So I knew, okay, this is different. Like all my friends in my neighborhood go to school. And so I think that's when I first started to feel kind of like this distance, this cultural distance. And then, when I would go over to my friend's house and, would watch TV with them or hear their music, then I was like, okay, this is very different. Like I don't have access to any of this. And so I knew there was this other world there. And there's no way, my parents, because they allowed us to at least have relationships with people outside of the church. And I had lots of family that were not a part of this same kind of fundamentalist culture. I had these little points of connection and access to the broader culture to kind of know what was going on and know that it was different. Yeah.
Rock that doesn't roll. Doesn't roll.
I have another question about the Christian bookstore, like being let loose to buy anything you wanted. Did you ever buy a Christian comedy album? Like, were you into comedy as a little kid or not? I'd love to talk about Mike Warnke if we can.
I'm so glad you brought him up. Okay, so no, I never bought a Mike Warnke comedy album because by the time I was buying albums, I think he was already kind of done. But I do remember, I think my parents had his cassette tape and we listened to it in the Suburban. And so I'm 3 rows back listening to Mike Warnke in the Suburban with my brothers. And so that name has stuck with me. And I kind of followed his story. I remember when I think my mom must have told me a little bit, or maybe he talked about it in his stand-up, but I knew he was like a satanic high priest or something and had this like really crazy story and background that was like, how could you forget it, right?
Right.
And then it all comes unraveled.
Completely debunked.
Years later, completely debunked. So I knew who he was.
Friends at Cornerstone Magazine. Yeah.
Love it. Yeah.
What I like about that one is it's just such a wacky story. Like there are a lot of scandals, but that one was way more interesting than your average, in my opinion. Like if you're gonna scandal in an interesting
way that does it. Who did it really harm? Who did it really harm besides his own soul?
I guess maybe pagans that got lumped in with him, or I don't know, innocent pagans.
Sure, maybe that's what it is. That's it. Yeah, he gave Satanists a bad name by turning out to be a total liar and fraud.
Well, and this is for another podcast, but he's gone on to have a really interesting trajectory with his life. So,
Oh.
I
what
think
is his
we
current,
would.
like in a thumbnail, current status?
I believe he is an ordained priest.
Oh,
Yeah, I believe an Anglican priest.
Anglican priest.
Oh.
If I remember right, I may have the ordaining body wrong, but so he's. I wish that we could do like a catch up. We should do that.
Sure.
We got to find a music connection to it. But I don't know. I think these folks are pretty interesting.
I think if they were sold,
in their own.
if it's an audio product sold in a Christian bookstore, maybe we can cover it on this podcast.
Then maybe it comes under the canopy of we investigate.
Yeah.
But anyway, I think it's interesting. You don't hear that much about him. He hasn't gone on the typical evangelical redemption tour where you do the thing, which I think is to his credit. So anyway, we should do a little story about Michael.
Yeah, I hope y'all do. Please.
I'm
do.
digressing. We'll be like, the renowned comic Jeremy Alder said, and then we'll just put a little.
Please bring me on. Bring me on. We'll do it together.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, let's do it.
To.
Great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that would be so fun. Okay, we're just pitching all kinds of episodes here.
But I never got into. I know there were other like Tim Hawkins and who was the other? There was another early.
Mark Lowry.
Yes, Mark Lowry. I remember. So I worked in a Christian bookstore as a teenager.
Nice.
You were a Christian bookstore guy.
I was a Christian bookstore guy,
so
worked in the music
adorable.
department and video department.
Oh,
and so I
awesome.
remember we sold a lot of Mark Lowry stuff.
Mm.
And so I knew who he was, but I wasn't at the time that interested. I was more interested in music and
Yeah, because he
stuff,
also
so.
joined the Gaither band. He was like his double threat.
Really?
He did music and comedy. you know?
incredible.
Yeah.
Oh
Incredible.
yeah, that's right. He wrote "Mary Did You Know."
Yeah, Mary
Very
Did You Know.
Well,
talented
that's a
songwriter.
banger.
Not a
That's a
very
good song.
funny song, but
Not
very
funny, but
But
it's,
I mean, but it's a killer.
It's beautiful.
Church special
Yeah,
number.
100.
Yeah.
bad
special
theology.
music.
But
Well,
you can't have it all.
yeah.
I
There's
guess.
always jokes around Christmas. Yes, she knew the Magnificat. Blah blah blah. But I have a question about. So you weren't listening to quote unquote Christian comedy, which has its own sort of rituals and like formulas, it seems like. And so you're like a not a Christian comic, but a comic who has had a background in Christianity.
right.
And I wonder, like, there's the are they or aren't they bands, like we're not a Christian band, we're a band of, but I wonder if there are, like, how did you, did you self-consciously think about how your, like, the creation of your jokes were different than, like, quote unquote Christian comics, or like how have you formulated that, like the writing process?
Yeah. Well, I never started out to write jokes for a Christian audience or for churches. I've to this day never done a church comedy show. I started comedy in bars and comedy clubs, and that's still what I prefer to do. And so, I've never really set out to be a Christian comic, and I've so far managed not to be.
I would kind of like to see you try.
I'll be honest with you, there's a lot of money to be made in Christian comedy and church comedy. And I have a lot of friends that are in it, and I'm happy for them. I mean, gosh, you can get on one of these big Christian conferences, and you can make, as much as I made a year, you can make in one show. So it's pretty wild. But I didn't get into this, honestly, thinking it was going to be any kind of career for me. It genuinely was just like an interesting artistic kind of challenge that I really enjoyed. And then I just kind of kept doing it. And so it's kind of grown into a thing. But I'm still pretty like choosy about where I'll go. Like I don't like doing comedy in environments where I feel like I'm being overanalyzed or judged for my like theology or language. And I'm generally very like a clean comedian. Like I don't go blue very often. And, most of the topics I touch on are pretty like general appeal, you know. But still, I just don't feel super comfortable in that world. And it was the same like when I was coming up with Christian music. The kinds of Christian bands that I really became drawn to were the ones that probably weren't playing a lot of churches, you know, or youth conferences, you know, because I kind of went through the phase of like DC Talk, Audio Adrenaline, Newsboys, the kind of mainstream Christian rock. And then something just felt like, I don't know, it felt not fake or performative. Obviously it's performance, but like, I just didn't feel real to me. Yeah. And so then I started finding these bands on these smaller labels, you know, like Stage Saker and Dear Ephesus and, you know,
Dear Ephesus.
And I was like, okay, this just feels like real artistic expression. And at that time, like, it felt authentic in a way. And I was just like, really liked it. And I think it's the same like with comedy. I don't really like church comedy.
So I noticed when I was watching your clip on like the part of your special, though it's like distributed by Angel. So I don't really know what Angel is other than it's a channel on my TV, like smart screen. And it seems to always have sort of Christian stuff. And I know there was like a movie. There was a movie last year that I remember Steve Taylor produced. It starred like Buster Bluth, what's his name? Anyways, Sketch. The movie was Sketch. And it had Darcy Carden, and that was an Angel movie as well. So those.
They also had a big successful Christmas movie with Judy, what's her name? From Arrested Development.
And a series. They had a series called, I think it's called The Chosen.
The Chosen.
Yeah, The Chosen
that's their kind of hallmark.
So what was your experience dealing with Angel, and what is their deal? And seems like they're not fully a Christian thing, but maybe sort
I think they are. They're a Mormon.
Mormon
company. They're based in Utah.
Okay. And that's why your special was filmed in Utah.
My son, yes, because Angel has a comedy division called Dry Bar Comedy that really blew up during the pandemic. And their whole thing is clean comedy for everyone. And so they started putting out specials, I want to say like, I don't know, 2018, 19. Then pandemic hit, and all of a sudden, like, they just got millions of followers on their platform watching their comedy specials. Yeah. So they quickly became like one of the main platforms for getting your comedy out there, and especially if you could work clean.
Nice.
And so, so I filmed that in 2022. And flew out to Provo for that. And I mean, it was great. They were very nice, very professional. They have this whole like comedy theater set up where they were filming like specials every weekend.
Wow. Okay.
And really, really churning them out. And they just asked you to, like, not everyone that does a special on Dry Bar works completely clean. But if you can just do 20 to 25 minutes of clean material, then that's good enough, right? And so I had that. And so it was just a great opportunity. It was my first kind of like opportunity to get my comedy out in front of a lot of people.
Yeah.
And so,
it saves you a lot of expense too, of like having to pay to film your own show.
100%. And I knew, yes, and it was quality. Like it's good. Like they do a good job.
And their only stipulation is that it has to be clean, I guess.
That's right.
Yeah.
It's really interesting to think about, because I know that I did a lot of research for this book that I wrote about Christian music during the pandemic. And it was a great time for me because there were all these artists who were off the road. Like they had nothing else to do. And people who I did not think would have time to talk with me, I'd email them, just me randomly, a person, and they'd be like, sure, I'll talk to you. So, but I know it was such a hard time for live entertainers. I mean, just a brutal, and it's interesting to think about the innovators who figured out how to kind of make lemonade. And it makes perfect sense that a resource when everyone was at home together as a family, you can't be, you don't want to watch blue comedy when you've got like your kids around. So this was a really smart thing at a really smart time.
Yeah.
It seems like you got involved. Like that would be the time to do it. 2022.
Yeah. I mean, they did. They had a product that people wanted at just the right time on the right platform, and it did. It took off, and I don't think it's quite as big as it was. Part of it is there's just a lot more competition. Like, there's more platforms now, online platforms, and clean comedy has become more broadly, desired. And so, there's just a lot of more places that you can get it now. Like Nate Bargatze's building his empire in Nashville, and the whole Nateland thing. And, I did one of the Nateland recordings as well. And that's the next big thing for, clean comedy, and so.
For sure.
Yeah.
This makes so much sense in terms of location, because Nashville's just the hub of like a lot of evangelical media making, and then like Salt Lake, Provo, but that area. So my dissertation, this is going to be so down a rabbit hole here, but my dissertation advisor is Latter-day Saint, very famous Kathleen Flake. First time she's ever been invoked on this podcast for sure, in Mormon circles. But she and I always dreamed about writing about why like charismatic and Pentecostal and Latter-day Saint communities really are moved toward entertainment. Like a lot of the momfluencers on Instagram are Latter-day Saints.
Secret Lives of Mormon.
Yeah, there's something about like those two communities that produce a ton of entertainers. And there's probably like a million reasons, but you're here with us now, Jeremy Alder. And I wonder if you would tell us about like, do you think there was anything about your upbringing that made you like especially prepared to be on stage?
Was there kismet when you went to Salt Lake too? Did you like see the
Oh yeah, well that'd be a second question. Yeah, I like that.
Bond,
I would like to kid Jeremy, like,
Yeah.
where did you like learn about that? Or did you learn about that in your Christian upbringing?
That's a good question. I mean, I feel like in the charismatic churches I grew up in, every Sunday was a kind of performance and production, and usually pretty high production value. Like a lot was invested on like the appearance of what was happening on stage. And I'm sure that influenced me. And I think as I got into my later teenage years, I started to become really disillusioned with kind of the charismatic stuff and the performative aspects of it. But I saw the power that it had. And I hated how the power was being used for what I felt were manipulative and nefarious ends. And it was having destructive effects on people like in my own family. And so I think, there was a big gap between me like doing the Christian band stuff and then starting comedy. I started comedy when I was 35 years old, so much later than most people. And so in between, I wasn't involved in entertainment at all. So basically from like age 18 or 19, when I stopped the Christian rock stuff, until 35, I didn't do performance except for preaching.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm going to say, I'm sure your preaching was entertaining. So
that's maybe at some level, but it was, I did realize like, all preaching, teaching, they're all a kind of performance. Even if your goal is to be as authentic and like transparent and real as possible, there's still a performance element. And there needs to be. For it to be good and compelling and connect, there needs to be that. You're not more real or authentic by just not showing emotion and reading flatly from a manuscript, because that's also a kind of performance.
Yeah.
You're performing some other kind of image that you want.
Calmness and control
Some kind of image you want people, right? So I started putting that stuff together. But with the church, the other part with the church stuff, seeing the performance, when I was in my Christian rock phase, I was attending, my parents had stopped going to church. They still wanted us involved in youth group. And they sent us to one of the big Bible churches in town, which was not charismatic, but it had a big, thriving youth program. And the pastor there was like a former actor and like playwright. And he loved to put on plays for the church. And the church was an old, used to be a dinner theater. And it had like a revolving stage. You could turn on and it would spin around, right?
Yeah,
so he
like
would put on,
you know.
yes. So he would put on plays, and I got into like church theater stuff. Me and my friends started like a sketch group and youth group where we'd write little funny sketches based on whatever the youth minister was talking about that day. So I think and a lot of my friends at that church, I think, were into some performance stuff, whether it was music or acting or something. So I think that put the bug in me too. And I enjoyed it, but didn't plan on, I did not foresee me getting into comedy however many years later, at all.
One of the craziest things you've done, probably, we haven't even talked about yet. And this is something I read about in some articles, interviews with you. During the the early days of COVID, you would go on the internet and just give people money that you didn't know. And you depleted a lot of, or I don't know if you depleted it, but you went through a lot of your own personal savings. That sounds like the craziest thing you've ever done. Among many things you've, talked about being a stand-up comic, being in a Christian rock band, preaching. So, how did you, tell us what that was.
Man, that was me just feeling angry and kind of hopeless and helpless during COVID, seeing a lot of people suffering and like being very online and hearing stories. Started with like friends, people that I knew who were like, I can't go to work, so I can't pay rent. I can't feed my kids. And just, being like, well, like at the time, I was working online. I still had my job. I still had an income. I wasn't at risk of really losing it. And I was like, what can I do to help? Because the government and the churches are failing massively at this. They're making it worse, actually, both of them. And so I started just like, sending money to people that I knew, just as like, I don't know, it just felt weird. I'm sitting here, I've got money that's sitting in an account and it's just not doing, and like people need it. And it just seemed like the kind of like, I don't know, just very gospel, kind of like irresponsible, reckless giving. And I figured it would be good for my soul. It was a way for me to connect with people. And I didn't think it would go on as long as it did, or that I'd end up giving away as much as I did. Like I didn't start with a number. It just kind of kept going. And it was wonderful. Like I met people I never would have met otherwise. And I felt like I had started to build a little bit of community from my couch, during a really dark time. And it was great. I mean, it helped me a lot. Yeah, it really did.
Well, to invoke another thing that you do on Instagram, a series called Christians Who Don't Suck. It sounds like you're a Christian who doesn't suck. So congrats, for doing that.
Well, thank you. I wouldn't do a series called Christians Who Don't Suck if I thought that I didn't also suck at being a Christian. That would be very pretentious.
Yeah.
Welcome to Christians Who Don't Suck. Today, Renee Nicole Good, the 37-year-old poet, wife, and mother, gunned down by ICE in Minneapolis. Just minutes after dropping her 6-year-old son at school, Good was shot multiple times in the face as she attempted to drive away from a chaotic scene ICE agents created in her neighborhood. Jeffrey Epstein's best friend, along with his entourage of Botox and blow-dried bootlickers, took a break from committing war crimes and covering up sex crimes to try and convince the American public to deny what we could plainly see with our own eyes. Good was murdered. And while the regime has tried to frame Good as a deranged domestic terrorist, her wife and those who knew her best say that in fact Good was a devoted Christian who believed, quote, "We're here to love each other, care for each other, and keep each other safe and whole." Renee was attempting to put those beliefs into
And I mean it. Like I don't feel like I'm great at this. I think doing whatever being a Christian is really, really hard, and very few people do it well.
Yeah.
And the people who do it the best end up getting murdered, usually by the state. So, but the connection between those two things, for me, the giving away the money during COVID and the Christians Who Don't Suck series, is this feeling of just like being angry at what was happening in the world and kind of helpless to do anything about it, and being drawn into just like complaining a lot and pointing fingers, and then being like, that's not making me feel good. That's not helping me or anybody else. And so what can I do that's like points to something constructive and hopeful? And so the Christians Who Don't Suck was, instead of spending my time online pointing fingers at everybody that's failing at this, I'll lift up some people who like inspire me and give me hope, and then maybe other people will, feel the same.
And many of them would probably claim they suck too, right? Just like you did.
I appreciate that though, because there's, speaking of market advantages, like one of the big misunderstandings that a lot of evangelical fans have about Christian music is that the money is better in the mainstream, and they don't know that it's actually 99 times out of 100 the inverse is true, like what you're saying about Christian comedy. I think there's also like performing on the church circuit. There's another thing here about like there's a lot of market advantages toward outrage content and rage baiting stuff. So it's actually much harder to make a dent with like more positive stories. So cheers to you for that, because it's very difficult to do. Like in my world, to get a book deal that's about happy, like positive stuff is very hard to do. You can sell something that's doom scrollable a lot faster. Right. So that's a big challenge. Congratulations.
Yeah. Well, nothing pisses angry people off more on the internet than putting something happy and positive out. And then they come into my comments and they start arguing, and that generates all of this heat that helps the algorithm, that helps
there you go.
my stuff grow.
So it's the rage baits in the comments.
That's where it's for real. That's where
See,
it
you figured it out.
Yeah,
that's wild. Yeah.
It's actually really smart. I should have figured that out a long time ago.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah.
Oh, what a delight.
So people should
great.
look you up on Instagram.
Sure.
Jeremy Alder. Is it
Jeremy.Alder? Yep.
And then anywhere else you want to tell people to go? Are you touring widespread?
All my go to jeremyalder.com for all my tour dates and ticket links and all that fun stuff.
Nice. Yep. All right. Fantastic. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you so much.
Thank you guys.
Really
It was so fun.
That's it for our conversation with Jeremy Alder. Thank you so much to Jeremy for coming on the show and for being a listener. We'll be back in 2 weeks. In the meantime, you can find us on Substack and Instagram by searching Rock That Doesn't Roll. And of course, you should give us a rating and review on whatever podcast app you're using to listen right now.
Season 4 of Rock That Doesn't Roll is distributed through the Public Radio Exchange with funding from our Patreon community. It's produced by the one and only Andrew Gill.
Our original score is by Jim Cooper of Infomercial USA. If you have a story to share or thoughts on this episode, please call our hotline at 629-204-4264. Our email address is rtdrpod@gmail.com. I'm Andrew Gill.
And I'm Leah Payne. Remember, rock all you want, but watch it when you start to roll.
Thanks so much for listening to this entire episode all the way to the end. Give yourself a pat on the back. And if you enjoy the show this much, consider becoming a Patreon member at patreon.com/RTDR. Thanks so much.